All right, there we go. Okay, welcome everybody. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Bethel Board of Selectmen for Tuesday, September 6th, 2022. Please rise, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business, public comments. Any public comments this evening? Yes.
I don't know how hard this job is, but I only had half a taste of what you've done. But I just want to thank you for 13 years because I have felt safe in the pandemic. I felt like the town has been well taken care of financially. I felt that you have done an amazing job planning for our future and taking care of all of the immediate needs and things that needed to happen right away. You've been bipartisan in your approach. You really worked across the aisles in a way no one in my lifetime ever has. So I really just want to thank you for a great 13 years.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate it. Any other comments? Mr. Coles.
It's a comment in the form of a question. So I'm going to make this comment and then hope at some point that some of the members of the board will address it. In the last 2 weeks, there have been a number of concerns floating around relative to the structure of your resignation letter. I was hoping you might be able to shed some light on. It's obvious that your intent was not to have resigned, what would it be, 19 hours ago at midnight at the start of the day. However, apparently in Connecticut, midnight is actually held to be the beginning of the day, not the end. So I don't know that this is a particularly significant issue, but it's come across my desk at least 8 times. So if that's happening, then I'm sure lots and lots of people are wondering about it. And I was hoping that you might, at some point during the course of the evening, just share your thoughts on that and what your intent truly was. It seems pretty clear what it was since you're here. So
I'll address that in the first selectmen's report. Any other comments?
I'm sorry, man.
Brad Colts, 1 Fairchild.
Thank
Um, Any other? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Mary, any late breaking correspondence?
No.
All right. First selectmen's report. Well, this comes as news to me that I have absolutely never heard that. Nobody raised an issue of it. 12 a.m. means 12 in the morning. Midnight means midnight. And I think that's the plain language. Nobody wrote in about it. So I think that the clear language of the statement would speak for itself. Nobody has challenged it. I hope that answers the question. For the rest of the first selectmen's report, I'm just going to say things are going great. Town is in very, very strong financial health. We have a great municipal operation. We have a great team. And I want to thank everybody for the support that not only that I have received so generously from our voters, but just I think one of the key things that I've noticed in the last 12 years is a very, very strong sense of community, that people have worked together. The schools are strong. There's strong support for the schools. There's growing and strong support for our town, and people are proud of it. And I can tell you, and I'm not going to get into a discourse about, previous eras, but there was a time when things were very divisive, and that sense of community, I think, was it was fractured a little bit. People didn't really have that same sense of pride that they have today. So I just want to thank all the members of our community for everything that they have done to build that. I like to say we're the biggest small town I know of that has a small town feel and a very strong community feeling to it. So thank you, everyone. Before we move on, I want to ask my colleagues, Rich and Brian, if you have any other comments.
Congratulations on a 13-year tenure. I wish you much luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you very much. Any comments?
Well, those were my exact words, but yes, it's been a pleasure working with you for the past 13 years. Even when Paul was here, that we all worked together and we always did for the betterment of the town. So again, I want to wish you great success in your new endeavor also.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. Before we move on, I want to put it, there's two motions I have to put on to add a couple items to the agenda. The first one is consideration of the minutes of the public hearing, which, what was the date of that, Barry? That was
August 30th.
August 30th, right? And I want to put that right after the minutes of the regular meeting of August 16th. So I'll put a motion on the floor that we add that item.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
And is consideration, and this, we got late this afternoon from the tax collector, consideration of tax refund requests from Paula Usher that I would like to make. We didn't number these, but right after action on proposed tax stabilization ordinance. So I'll make that motion that we add that item.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
That carries. Thank you very much. So first item of real business is consideration of the regular meeting minutes of August 16th, 2022. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
I'll second. Any comments, corrections? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That carries. Item number 2, consideration of the minutes of the public hearing. That's labeled item C1 in your packet. It's a little out of order. Minutes of the public hearing of August 30th. So I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I was there
for discussion. I wasn't there.
Well, you'd have to, you had to work.
Second
on it,
it for
right.
discussion.
and I wasn't there.
So we only had one person visit, but so there's really nothing to correct or anything on that. So those in favor signify by saying aye.
I have to say I wasn't there.
Oh, you weren't there either. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Well, then we will just note for the record that we can't vote on them, but we did have one visitor who came and spoke and asked many questions, and we had a terrific conversation. So I will withdraw the motion. I completely forgot. I thought you were on the Zoom. All right. That's a big never mind. Next item is consideration of an F-550 snow plow. This is labeled item B, like boy 1 in your packet. And to open the floor for discussion, I will put a motion on the floor that we approve an amount not to exceed $82,460 for the snowplow to be paid from capital non-recurring and forwarded to the Board of Finance. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and Mr. Dibble, would you care to comment on the request?
Sure, yeah, it's a all-season dump body combination, hydraulic system, snowplow, snowplow truck, lighting, and control inside the truck, so it's a complete package.
So it's including the dump body, right, Bob?
Excuse me?
It's including the dump body.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
not- It's
absolutely.
not just a plow.
No,
It's a
no.
sander,
Yes,
everything.
Yeah, so we purchased a chassis, state bid, and then we put, now we're gonna have put the rest of the components on the truck. We approved one a few weeks back. I just had, I got one chassis and we weren't sure that when the next chassis was gonna come in, but it didn't show up, so I didn't want to put that forward and all somebody told, oh, the chassis is not gonna show up for 6 months.
And this
No
was
way.
done through the state bid too. This
The
is
truck chassis is purchased through a state bid, and the body, the pricing for the body is through Everest dealer.
That's one of those consortiums, right?
Yeah, it's protected territory.
Right.
I can detail for you if you want a little bit of detail.
I mean,
Pricing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we good just to hear it.
Yeah, okay, so-
What it is.
For the low-weight trucks, the all-season dump body, which is a regular dump body, and also works during the winter time, when we're plowing snow, it carries de-icing material and spread on the roads. We run 2 of them right now, well, we run 3 of them, but 2 of them more important, they're out in the Stony Hill route, so those 2 trucks service 3 plow routes out there. And it keeps us on time. The routes out there are a little bit So the big trucks would have to come in and get extra load of material to finish up. So those trucks are out there to supplement those routes. There's a couple of ways to purchase the lowboy truck. One of the ways is we can put a complete truck out to bid, and the bodybuilders, the bodybuilding companies would bid the truck. So they would buy the chassis from whomever, Ford, Chevy, Dodge. They would put all their components on it, and we would purchase for them. We would lose out on the 20% discount by purchasing that way. Because the body manufacturer is not going to get a government discount on the truck chassis. So the pricing for the bodies, there's 4 manufacturers out there that manufacture these shrunk down smaller all-season bodies. And I'll price them for you real quickly. M&G is just the body itself is around $45,000. There's Viking Civis, which is another manufacturer, they're $43,000. Everest, the body that we want to put on our truck, and I'll quickly go over that, is around $28,000, so it's substantially less. And there's another manufacturer out there, Tarco, which we have put a Tarco body on a 2004 lowboy. The Tarco body, I don't have a price on. I would guess it to be a little bit less than the Everest body, not much. It's probably very fair on price. The issue with the Tarco body is the components on it are very lightweight. This gauge of steel on the body is very lightweight. And that 2014 body is probably more shape than the 2005 Everest bodies. We spent a fair amount of money on the drive system, which are the sprockets, shafts, the chains and stuff like that, because it's just a lightweight body. It's more like a landscapers type truck with park lots and stuff. It's not a good road body for us. So the Everest bodies, the trucks that were replaced have Everest bodies on. They service well. We haven't really had to service them at all. You know, the components have all lasted fine. You know, and no issues with them. I think the price of them is very good compared to the other 2 bodies out there. And those top 3 bodies are comparable in how they're built. They're basically the same thing. So, you know, I don't see any sense of spending, $45,000 on a body. That's kind of it. I think it's a benefit to the town money wise is to purchase this way because, like I said, we can get that 20% discount on the chassis. Then up to the body, buffering and hydraulics and all that stuff, it's going to be the same anyway. Wherever we purchase it from. The control system on those trucks through Ford or Chevy or whoever. They offer just a standard dump bike. It's not an all-season bike, or a flatbed bike, so on and so forth. They don't know. That's kind of where we are. And I think, yeah, it's a lot of money, but I think it's, the overall cost of the vehicle, I think this is the best way to do it, the cheapest way.
Well, I want to personally thank you, Bob. You've taken a lot of heat over the years for sticking with your guns and using salt and sand combination and not switching to the magic melt and everything everyone's been talking about. And with the amount of nitrates ending up, not nitrates, chlorides actually, that ended up in the wells, it looks like you were proven right. And I do appreciate your knowledge because we are extremely fortunate to have you on Public Works. You've done an amazing job, and thank you.
I just have a question. I think there should be a distinction because last meeting we approved the same thing. That this is for another truck.
Yeah, right.
Second truck.
Second truck.
Yeah.
Second truck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
So I'm just saying, if someone sees the meeting notes from last month
Yeah, exactly.
and this month, you bought it twice for the same truck. Because it's listed as the Ford F-550, so, okay.
Okay, any other questions for Bob?
Purchase not to exceed $82,460.
All right, yep, we had that motion. That's all right. All right, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, that carries. Next item is consideration of a turf replacement fund. Now, before I put the motion on the floor, let me just explain that with this incredibly generous donation of the artificial turf complex that is now being installed in between the middle school and the high school, One of the things we know about those is that after somewhere between 10 and 12 years, the surface will need to be replaced. So along with school officials, what we discussed with the finance office was a separate account. And then the different associations that utilize that field will pay into that account, and over the years will build up enough money in that account to be able to replace that surface without borrowing money. So the money would be set aside. So the purpose of this is really just to direct the finance department to create a fund that is sequestered and can be used only exclusively for maintenance and replacement of the field. So I'm going to put a motion on the floor that we direct the finance department to create a turf replacement fund to be used exclusively for maintenance and replacement of the surface of the playing field.
Second.
Okay, Brad is on with us via Zoom. Brad, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, that's pretty much it. We're still in preliminary discussions of what kind of fees would go into this fund, but it made sense to create the fund before we get that far.
Mhm. And I think it's important that the selectmen weigh in that it is an exclusive sequestered account, so it can only be used for that. So I think that is good protection for the taxpayers too.
Yeah, it'd be similar to the enterprise fund that the train station runs.
Yeah.
Both train stations, actually.
The enterprise funds they're kind of a separate animal under GASB rules, but this is sort of like a sinking fund. So basically, we're creating a fund that says this money goes into it. You can't pull it out to do other stuff. So it's sinking fund or a different type of a capital non-recurring fund is what you would call that.
Does this need to go to the Board of Finance for final approval?
No, because it's creating an account. You don't think?
How that's it, but I would if I were allowed to.
Marty, do you have an opinion on that, whether it needs to go to the Board of Finance for approval?
No, I don't think it does. I think that it's up to the Board of Selectmen to create it. You know, if the Board of Finance didn't want to put money in it, that's another story, but that's not what we're talking
So as
about.
long as no taxpayer funds go.
That's right. There's not taxpayer funds going.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? All right, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries. Next item is consideration and proposed action on the proposal for a tax stabilization fund ordinance. Once again, we held a public hearing on this. Tried to hold two actually, but one of them was actually worked. So I'm going to put a motion on the floor that we approve the tax stabilization fund as it is currently written. It had been vetted through the attorney's office, through the town attorney's office, through the Board of Finance. Their comments. There were no further comments or requests for changes from the public hearing. And again, one gentleman did show up and was more interested in having his questions answered than having any feedback. He said he would write back if he had any further comments, which he didn't. But I'm going to put a motion on the floor that we approve. Now, once again, under the charter, after assuming we approve this tonight, it must be published in the newspaper again in its entirety, and then it will take effect through, was it 30 days, I think, after the publication date. Right. So I'll make that motion that we approve the tax stabilization fund as it was presented at the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions, comments?
Didn't we say, and maybe I missed it, in the ordinance, we were gonna have somewhere that the controller was supposed to review it every year? We had mentioned that during the meeting that, you know, the controller would review it and make sure that we were still in good standing. Did say that. I didn't see it.
In my view, I think that's part of the comptroller's job already. I mean, that's, you're reviewing that along with everything else.
Ryan, I thought that was on the fund balance policy, not the
Yeah.
tax stabilization.
Yeah, you're right. There is a section, Brian, that talks about it should be administered by the Board of Finance pursuant to certain charter number. It can only be terminated by an affirmative vote of the Board of Selectmen. So they're going to administer it. They may not they're not creating it, but they certainly put their input into it, and they're the ones that are going to be administering it. So.
Any other questions? Okay, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Thank you very much. Let me just pause for a minute and say that I think this is one of the most important financial decisions or policies that the town has ever adopted. It puts us in some pretty rarefied air along with our AAA bond rating and how we will proceed in the future. And it gives us the ability in the future to protect taxpayers from sudden changes, due to economic conditions, possibly protect them from big swings in the mill rate. So I think this is a very important thing, and I thank you guys for your support. Thank the community for your support. So moving on to the new item, consideration of tax refunds. This is items D1 and D2. I'll make the motion that we authorize refunds as requested by Paula Usher, the tax collector, in the amount of $4,462.15 for overpayment of taxes. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That carries. And the last item is been asked by the Public Works Department to authorize, finally, after many, many years, this has taken quite a long time with a lot of study and a lot of engineering work, to authorize the replacement of the Codfish Hill Road culvert. So before I put the motion on the floor, I want to turn the floor over to Eric Swenson, DPW Director. Eric is on with us by Zoom. Eric, are you there?
Yeah, hi, Matt. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yep, we can hear you. So if you want to just give us a top line of how this thing came out and what the ask is for the funding.
Sure. So we put it out to bid a few weeks ago. We had an original cost estimate of around $410,000. We got 9 bids, I believe, ranging from, I think it was like around 250,000 to 770,000. It's a pretty big spread. We did a pretty thorough review of, well, we after eliminating the top 3 bids, which were just too high, we did a thorough review based on scoring that we had put out in the RFP itself, as a way to determine the most qualified contractor. Besides just price alone, obviously we wanted to not to just be held to the lowest bidder. And after that, we ended up deciding on the second to lowest bidder based on the scores, and all that's in the email I sent you or sent to the procurement committee last week. And that was Nagy Brothers Construction. So we're recommending them. I don't know procedurally if you want me to go into the funding aspect of that, but I can if you want.
I don't think so. I'll just read, for the audience here, I'll just read the numbers on this. The Nagy Brothers Construction bid price on replacement was $349,000. We have $128,000 in a steep grant to offset that. And there is still $30,000 remaining in capital funding from previous work, engineering work on this. So that brings the final cost down to $191,000. And the department is asking for a 12% contingency for unknown conditions and, last minute price changes that frequently happen in construction projects. So the ask is for the town of Bethel to fund the replacement project in the amount of $215,000, not to exceed. So I will make that motion that we approve this subject to final review by the procurement committee and by the town attorney. because some of this didn't go through all of the committees just yet, just for their final review. But subject to those two reviews, amount to not to exceed 215,000 to be drawn from capital non-recurring. Okay, so floor is open for questions, comments.
I kind of looked at your scoring detail. You guys had a committee together that gave all the contractors scores.
Could you hear that, Eric?
Yes, you're talking about the scoring. Was there a question? Sorry, I couldn't hear.
Yeah, like, who was involved in the committee that scored these contractors?
Myself, engineer James DeMeo, and Bob Dibble.
And of the top three scores, I see a 50, 53, 53 on the first page. And then on the second page, it looks like you did your total bid score, which was Maggie came in at 72. Were those prices fairly consistent of the top three?
Those final three, they
Yeah.
range from around, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but they range from around 250 to 450, I believe. Not mistaken. So he was right. Nagy's number was right in the middle of those three,
If
more
you
or
want-
less.
Eric, if you want to mention that, that was also under the engineer's bid on the project.
Yes, yes. Sorry, I thought I said that. Yeah, it comes in less than the engineer's estimate, which was around 410,000.
Any other questions?
No, I just noticed, one of the finalists was local, but that's who they're saying to go with.
I don't remember if Eric mentioned this, but Nagy Brothers was the company that put in the Whittlesey Bridge. And that was done under budget and well ahead of schedule. The town was very, very pleased with the performance of that company. Very, very good outfit. So I'm glad that they, in this competition, they came out on top. So if there are no further questions, let's try your minds. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's not Dayton, it's Dayton yellow.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's the other day.
Oh, it's the other
Yeah, no,
day.
it's another day.
All right. Any other questions? Hearing none. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Before we adjourn, let me just congratulate Rich. Rich will be sworn in tomorrow morning at 11:59 and 59 seconds tonight. I will turn into a pumpkin. But thank you all. It has really been an honor. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That carries. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming tonight, everybody. By the way, the former first selectman said I could keep this.